Last week, Fahim Ahmed of Toronto, who earlier this year pled guilty to plotting terrorism and mass murder, was sentenced to 16 years in prison. At almost the same time, Omar Khadr, also of Toronto, pled guilty and was also sentenced to 16 years, or more precisely 8 years, on top of the 8 he has already spent behind bars. The crimes sound similar, the punishment's the same. Khadr and Ahmed even shared a lawyer. Yet the treatment of these two men could not have been more different. One man was convicted in Canada, according to regular criminal law, in a regular criminal court, while the other, at Guantanamo Bay, was subjected to rules that were invented expressly for the occasion of his trial. In Canada, Ahmed confessed and pled guilty with the assistance and advice of counsel after normal police work revealed that he had been a leader of a group whose goal was a Canadian 9/11. Faced with the evidence, Ahmed essentially threw himself on the mercy of the court and got it. He could be paroled as early as 2014. Omar Khadr was also involved with a terrorist group, Al-Qaeda, but he was no more than a very low-level foot soldier, and possibly even less than that. He was just 15 years old when captured on the battlefield in Afghanistan. As for Khadr's confession, it was made while still a child, held in a prison without lawyers or law, where abuse, coercion, and even torture were standard operating procedure. That confession of his would have been laughed out of any normal court in Canada or the US, but it was accepted by the military tribunal at Guantanamo. One trial showed the fundamental decency of liberal, democratic society. The other undermined our ideals and is guaranteed only to foster resentment and a sense of injustice. One trial showed leniency, perhaps even too much leniency, toward a man whose crimes were proved beyond a reasonable doubt. The other relied on a dubious confession to secure a conviction, while promising the accused that even if he contested the charges and was found not guilty, he could still be held indefinitely. The trial of Omar Khadr could have been scripted by Kafka. This isn't how civilized societies are supposed to operate. During the Second World War, hundreds of thousands of Soviet soldiers captured by the Germans were worked and starved to death, as were Germans captured by the Soviets. But German prisoners of war in Canada, some 30,000 men, were treated humanely and with respect in accordance with the Geneva Conventions. When the war was over, many wanted to remain here. As for the Nazi leadership, its most senior members were put on trial after the war, real trials. And though these were the greatest mass murderers in history, having wreaked death and destruction far beyond Al-Qaeda's sickest imaginings, we didn't stoop to torturing the Nazi leadership. It was never even on the menu. So, which of these approaches offers the best argument against radicalism? Which can best protect us and our ideals? The verdict is in. It came in a long time ago. For The Agenda with Steve Paikin, I'm Tony Keller.